So in America, it's coming into the colder months with
Yeah.
sickness and flu. I believe you're quite, you have very strong opinions about not working when you get sick.
Yeah, yeah, which are relatively new, strong feelings because I was one of those guys that, coming up in my early career, you just, you play hurt, right? And that's just a very American, iconic saying. You play hurt. If you're sick, you get in there, you do your job, you let nothing slow you down. All these things are fine on the footy field. Okay, they're pretty lousy in a corporate environment. And we could go into this whole thing about the American corporate culture, but where it really changed for me is when I had the opportunity to work with Jeff Skoll at Participant Media, and we had a very corporate structure. I mean, I was an entrepreneur and consulting to people and working at different companies and flying all around the world, and I didn't pay attention. I just figured, I've got to be there, I've got to have the meeting, I've got to close the deal. It doesn't matter how bad I feel. Not realizing that I was not only not at my best, but I was potentially infecting other people. And it's 20 times harder to be effective, even baseline effective when you're sick as when you're well. So when we were setting up our HR policy at Participant, there was a hard and fast rule. Okay, if you're sick, you don't come in. And you don't come in, you don't check in, you don't call in, you don't do your emails, you don't do your work. You stay in bed and you get better. Period. Right? As long as it takes. And it wasn't about sick days. And it wasn't about that. Yes, we had vacation days, sick days, personal days, all that. If you're sick, call in, put down the phone, turn off the email, turn off the iPhone, get better. And it was amazing to see a bunch of highly powerful, highly trained, executives in their 30s and 40s try to wrap their head around this because they just couldn't get it. And it was so foreign to our experience. But it worked. It just worked. And what we saw is that when a person was sick and they just stayed home, they got better quicker, they came back fresh. They weren't paranoid about their work. They weren't paranoid about somebody taking their job while they're sick. But the bigger picture is that since I moved to Australia, I've seen how the Australian culture works and how the European culture works and how the Asian culture works. And what I realized is that this is kind of common every place but America. So if you're sick, you don't come in. And I think it just makes great corporate culture or company culture or whatever culture you're in. If you know you're not going to be at your best because you're ill, it's not a sign of weakness. It doesn't mean that you're a warrior with a chink in your armor. The great warriors, the great knights, I mean, they didn't go out. Movies and television like to see everybody from sports heroes to gladiators to knights. They just soldier on and they fight on. It's really not the case. You kind of swing your sword around for 20 minutes and then you go sit down and rest. And then you come back because it's hard. The concept of rest is much maligned, I think, in Western corporate culture. And I'm a huge believer now, and when I interact with my partners here at the firm, you're sick, you stay home, period, the end. Because you're no good to me. And if I'm sick, with what I do, presenting, speaking, pitching, doing deals, the last thing anybody wants is me up in front of a whiteboard, hazy, and filled with cold medicine and forgetting.
And you can make mistakes, you can make bad decisions.
You make mistakes, you make bad decisions, but it's because you're under the deluded opinion that whoever you're working for, your boss, your company, yourself, you need this so badly that you're actually being grandiose, right? He closed the deal when he was sick. Well, 99 times out of 100, you blow it. And that's just not good for anybody.